the Jeep Wrangler Sahara 4Xe. It's a plug-in hybrid. We've already done a deep dive into the Wrangler, what it is from a technical and engineering perspective with help from the brand. So check out those videos if you want to know all the little nitty-gritty. This is more of a social commentary about, is a plug-in hybrid Jeep even relevant? What is it like to drive, the pros and cons? And now that the Ford Bronco is available, this is going to be a much harder sell unless you're a Jeep loyalist. Let's get started. Oh yes, the 4Xe, Jack. First, before we ramble on, let's send this down our European roads.
All right, we are in electric mode only.
It sounds like a dentist drill. It sounds like a dentist drill getting a root canal.
It's so weird hearing nothing other than road noise and wind noise in a Wrangler.
I would agree with you. So the breakdown is when you have full electric capacity, and this will let you go into EV mode down to 1% of battery. And when you have that, this will net you about 5.5 to 6 seconds 0 to 60. So it's quicker than the 4-popper only, quicker than the V6.
It does that when the hybrid battery is working with the gas motors.
Correct.
Electric motor only, EV pure, it only makes 134 horsepower.
So it's way slower in EV only.
Yes, with a 5,000-pound SUV with 134 horsepower, you're not going to set the world on fire. But when you go back into hybrid mode, let me come back to a stop.
Okay. So hybrid mode is what you want to do if you want to launch it hard. Like
Yes.
hard.
Oh man, you about to feel this?
Noticeably faster.
Yes.
But I like the dentist drill experience better, Jack.
I do too. I think it's a lot more fun in a vehicle like this. It's a weird sensation.
Novel. It's novel. Again, this is what we talk about with a lot of hybrids and plug-in hybrids, is that it's the middle step before full EVs. So it's kind of toying with the idea that it's giving you some practicality. So you get 21 miles of range, electric only, and you get, 48 or 49 mpge combined. And if you're doing short jaunts, you're really going to appreciate this. But when we say short, I'm talking short.
Yeah, this car, when we got into it, this SUV, when we were leaving our beginning point where we were mounting up cameras, it's 25 miles of range. Now we're down to 23. And most people get around 21 in real world. And once that has been entirely depleted and you're not plugging in, this car gets worse fuel economy than the regular 4-popper Wrangler because it's heavier because of all the battery packs and electric motors, and it becomes even slower than the regular one. But in real world, if you were just going to and from your office or you're going on shorter jaunts, this makes kind of a lot of sense, I think, actually.
Yeah, it does, and I think again, it's a novelty. To me, we got out of all the Wranglers already. We did videos on them, so we covered the technical stuff. Other than the V8, which we didn't get, which, you know what you're getting with that anyway. So let's talk about the technical changes. With the 4Xe, you can get it on the Sahara, like this one. You can get it on the Rubicon. With the Sahara, which you're probably going to get, I don't see why you get the Rubicon version of this, but you get the more moderate all-wheel drive system, the Select Track, I believe it's called. And then you get the Rock Track with the other one. The main difference is between the two is the mechanical part is the prop shafts were changed underneath too because of the battery pack is in the back. It's a module that sits below the passenger seats in the back. You still have the same ZF transmission.
It's an 8-speed.
You still have the 2-liter turbo in here,
which is still pretty decent.
Yep. So essentially, you still have the solid front axle, the Dana unit. You still have the same gear ratios and the rear differential ratio as the Sahara, and then it changes for the Rubicon. So essentially all they're doing is adding a battery pack here and the plug-in version. It takes 12 hours to charge this on a regular wall outlet, and it takes 2 on a 240-volt charger.
Yeah, so basically what you're getting is the standard Jeep Wrangler, but you either love or hate at this point. It is a very compromised vehicle. We've gone over that in about 1 million videos at this point, including our Gladiator ones, with a plug-in hybrid system. So if you are going on longer trips, long journeys, this is probably not the vehicle for you.
Yeah.
If you want a loud, brash experience, this is probably not the vehicle for you.
So what is it really at? I mean, okay, let's go back to this. We know what the JL Wrangler is.
Yeah.
We've driven the new Bronco, and we said this in the Bronco thing, it's shiny and new. And Ford had the ability to look at this, what Jeep has been doing for 100 years, and dissect it, reverse engineer it, tear it apart, and come up with something better. Rear airbags, fix some of the safety, fixed a lot of the complaints about this, where Jeep has had to stick with the same thing or make modifications of the same thing because people expect a Jeep experience. So I feel like now they're at this crossroads of, okay, we kind of have hybridization, we have these different drivetrain options. Now they're going to have to figure out, do they scrap this and start it from the ground up to compete? And I don't know. I think they have an owner base. People know what the Jeep is. It's one of the most iconic brands, at least in America. I don't know. Do you think they have to change this?
I think the brand as a whole, which is now Stellantis, has a big identity problem currently, right? They killed or are killing their flagship engine, right? The 6.2 liter with the supercharger. You know, the 6.2 that's in this thing and some of their other vehicles is probably going to have to change to meet, emissions and all that other fun stuff. So I think I don't know what the future of this brand's going to be like, because in a lot of ways, objectively, the Bronco is a better vehicle than this, but it came out later, and like as you said, they had the ability to look at the deficiencies of the Wrangler and address it in the new product.
It's pretty much the only thing on the planet with a solid front axle.
Yep.
It still has that pedigree, whether you can argue reliability or not. There's nothing else like this. So I get the following. I just think for most people now, Ford is really trying to reinvent the wheel and do it better and fix a lot of the nitpicky things that people complain about with these. And safety being a huge one.
Yeah.
Ride control is another huge one. But the big thing for me is, let's talk about price before we get into the final thoughts, Jack.
So this thing, the way we have it equipped, is in the mid $50,000 range, which is a ton of money.
Yeah.
You do get a rebate of $7,500 at least today from the federal government. But again, that only applies to you if you make the kind of money that's required to take full advantage of that tax rebate. So it is still it's an expensive vehicle.
This is an expensive toy for what it is.
Johnny America bought a early JL Rubicon, which he still has today, and that thing was over $50,000.
Yeah, wasn't it closer to 60 almost?
Yeah, it was a lot of money.
So you can do the same thing with the Bronco for what, like 35
or 40 grand? Yeah,
40 grand. Obviously, and that's the flexibility they give you. You don't have to go to up to the top trim level to get all the off-road stuff that you want, and that's something that they force you to do with the Jeep. So again, we can't see the future. This is just more of a commentary about this Jeep product and what they need to do or what they don't need to do. Probably not much anything, honestly.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they do. They're an interesting brand. But with that, Mark, I think it's time to head into the final thoughts.
All right, Jack. Final thoughts on the Jeep Wrangler 4Xe. Now, the hybrid offering is a unique package. You get the refinement of going an EV only, and you have the power of going in a hybrid. It's much quicker than the other vehicles. Now, granted, you only have 20 miles of range. And in today, that might be doable, but in 5 or 6 years, it's going to be a laughable amount. So this is a very kind of here and now transitional product, and that's one of the things that makes me question why you would want to buy it. The thing is Jeep has covered all the bases as much as they could. You have a V8, you have a V6, you have a four-popper, and this. And that's great for most people. The main thing is, now that the Bronco is out, the real Bronco, it's a hard sell for somebody that is a street warrior. That's all you're doing is taking this to work. You're keeping it on pavement. When you drive these back to back, you realize it's a much busier ride, and it's a blessing and a curse having a solid front axle. Most trucks, cars don't have that, and it just makes it a much worse driving experience on the pavement. So if you're in the market for something like this and you're not a Jeep loyalist, drive them back to back and make your decision. But there is so much character to these things. When you see a Jeep, everybody sees it, even kids to adults. It just transcends all stereotypes in people. When you see it, you know what it is. And I think that's the huge draw here. The question is, what is Jeep going to do as a brand to kind of respond to the evolution of this idea? And that's what has me worried for them. But I'm sure they'll figure something else out or figure it out. Hope you take a look at these things. If you love them, enjoy it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.